You are watching Tech Confessions, created by Amy Lewis and brought to you by VMware.
Hi, Pat.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well. Welcome to Tech Confessions.
Hey, thank you. This is good here at our VMware user or VMUG user con in Netherlands. This is a great opportunity. I'm enjoying this. This is fun.
Yeah, we're kind of going back to the future today. So, yeah. So a couple of questions. What was your software-defined moment? When did you start really thinking about, wow, software's where it's at instead of hardware?
Yeah, and it was pretty early in my career. So I'm a chip designer at Intel, and working on the 286, 386, 486. And what I realized somewhere in the 486 project was that everybody was working on the computer. Everything was in software, right? We were doing it sort of like, where's the hardware? And literally the project goes for over 4 years without seeing any of the hardware.
Wow.
Right? And then it was sort of like, wow, something is going, even though we deposited the software into the microcode and into the silicon, it really was a software experience. And that was really, I'd say, sort of the beginning of my understanding that really, there was something magic about the software, even as a hardware guy for most of my career, it ended up in hardware. The software was where the real secret sauce was.
Very cool. So quite a storied career you have, but has there ever been a moment in your career where you thought you had sort of a setback or it didn't go the way you wanted, but it turned out well? I know you said you were an optimist.
Yes, and maybe the early days of Wi-Fi.
Ooh.
Right, which was, as we're working on creating Wi-Fi today, everybody takes Wi-Fi for granted. You have Wi-Fi everything.
Right.
At the point. But there was a period of time where there were several competing standards. There was a competing standard called WAPI coming out of China. There were different wireless standards in the U.S. But that period was one where, boy, I wasn't sure it was going to work. And I remember I took visits to the ITU. I'm meeting with, the standards bodies around the world. I'm going to China, negotiating, resolutions to the disagreements and how security was going to be handled. And obviously today, everybody sort of looks at it and says, well, of course Wi-Fi.
Oh my gosh.
But at that time, it was far from, of course, Wi-Fi.
Wow, that's really cool. So what got you started? I don't know. What's your origin story? How did you get into IT?
Yeah, I was born and raised as a farm boy in Pennsylvania. I knew more about cow chips than computer chips in the beginning. My father was number 9 of 10 kids, and he never had his own farm. And so I sort of started, what am I going to do? And I started to play around with electronics. I, fixed the radio. I worked on TVs, and it was just sort of one of those where I knew. Right? And sometimes you just sort of like, I understand how this works way beyond other people around me.
Right.
And it's sort of like, wow, I really enjoy this. The first time I touched a computer, I remember I went to tech school. I accidentally won a scholarship, so I skipped my last year and a half of high school. So I started literally in tech school when I was 16.
Oh, wow.
Right, on my associate's degree. And the first time I touched a computer, it was a TRS machine, this Tandy Radio Shack, 1902, I think it was called at the time. And then I touched a PDP-8, right, which was like, wow, I can't believe this. I think it was a 14-bit machine.
Oh my gosh.
At the time. And it was like, and then the first time when I showed up at Intel and I started working as a design engineer at the end of the 286 project, it's sort of like, okay, this is what I want to do the rest of my life. I was just absolutely hooked. And, I'd say in many ways, when you find something that you get such great enjoyment out of, as well as that you're good at, it's like, okay, that's what you should do.
Absolutely.
And that's been my career, and I've just had a thrilling ride, since now 38 years. It's hard to believe. I look like it look like I'm only in my 30s, right?
Yeah, well, it's the machine, right? It's working.
There we go. It certainly is. But after 38 years in technology, I'm about as fired up as ever, right?
That's
for
awesome.
the potential.
Well, thank you so much, Pat. Thanks for joining us on Tech Confessions. Share your tech confession at techconfessionstheshow.com.